going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Good morning. Hope we're all doing good. It is Wednesday, the 28th of August. Just a couple of days to go when it comes to the transfer window. And there's a lot going on, isn't there? There's a lot going on. Today could be Ugarte Day when it comes to a medical for the Uruguay international. He's actually flown in. He's flown into Manchester. He's flown in to Carrington late last night. Images of him arriving late last night. His medical is going to be today. And it could be a case of, because there's not much time left, that an announcement could come possibly later on today. And then the question is, how involved is he going to be when it comes to Liverpool at the weekend? So we'll be chatting about all of that. We're also going to be talking about a possible exit, a late exit for Victor Lindelof. It looked like he was going to be staying in this window, didn't it? Obviously, he got that injury as well. I think they said it was, Samuel Ugarte said something to do with his toe or something. But we did see, I think it was a couple of days ago, his wife posted on Instagram that it was like, here we go, and had bags packed, and people were going, is there something in that? What's going on with Victor Lindelof? Well, that something could be possibly a move to Lazio, as Lazio possibly are considering a move for the Manchester United defender. And also, the very latest on this. Wow, just shocking. I still can't even believe we're even really discussing it, but this shocking move that would involve Jadon Sancho going to Chelsea, not too shocking. But what would really be shocking is Raheem Sterling. Yes, former Liverpool, Manchester City winger. Raheem Sterling, former Chelsea winger. I mean, talk about a trifecta there. Raheem Sterling coming to Manchester United in 2024. Now, prior to yesterday, it was kind of just rumours, and nothing really to it. But yesterday, suddenly, it became a bit more concrete, didn't it? And it's got a lot of people talking. I spoke about it yesterday in my sort of run-in cameo on the Flex and KG show, but we'll get more into it today because, again, there's a lot of opinion. There's a lot of opinion flying around about all of that. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. You can see in the top right-hand corner there, less than 500 to go, actually. Quite close to sort of about 300. About 300 and what? That's 328 to go until 176,000 on the long run to 200,000. And yes, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe because it's going to be a busy couple of days indeed. We did say, didn't we, that when it comes to this transfer window, as we're getting closer and closer to the deadline day, more stuff would start to happen. I didn't think it would involve Raheem Sterling and Manchester United, but there we go. Let's see what people are saying here in the chat this morning. Daniel Luciano says, morning, Owen. Big up UV fam. PK says, what's up, Owen? KG already sang an Ugarte song. Yes. Gasha says, good morning, all. Sanji says, good morning. Simon's in there, says, big up, UV fam. Kristen says, morning, all. David says, shite day in Waterford City. What's the weather like here today? Yesterday was horrible where I am. Absolutely disgusting weather yesterday. But in other parts of the country, nice and sunny. So, you never know what you're going to get. Another day in paradise. Stephen says, Ugarte, like that one. Red Scare Claire says, good morning. Shahil says, good morning. Coach says, morning. Amanor says, big up, Owen. Lamino says, morning from Berlin. We've got everyone watching this morning. We've got everyone excited for another day of transfer talk. Let's start with the latest regarding Manuel Ugarte, as he is set to have his Manchester United medical today. Fabrizio Romano posted this morning, said Manuel Ugarte, but also actually, someone can let me know in the chat about this. Have we been saying Ugarte's name wrong? Because I was, whilst I was prepping for the show this morning, I did have Sky on in the background, and they pronounced it very, very differently. So if there's an actual way of saying this, phonetically, put it in the chat. It's important to get those things right. But he said he's in Manchester. He landed overnight. Plan confirmed. His medical is today. Now, we don't actually have these pictures, but they were posted all over social media in sort of the pitch black of the night. You saw a dark car driving to Carrington. One of those ones where the player's in the back, but you can't really see it. You can't really see the guy going, is he in there? Is Ugarte in there? Well, he was in there, and he is having his Man United medical, possibly right now. Certainly is going to be set for today. And you would think, previously this transfer window, they have their medical and then it kind of gets announced the day after. something along those lines. But maybe that won't be the case because, of course, time is of the essence. Time is running out. Not in the sense that time's going to jeopardize this deal. It's definitely going to get done, isn't it? There's no worries about that. But because of wanting to get him involved and integrated as quickly as possible and possibly involved for the weekend, maybe it does get announced later today. Maybe the whole point of driving him in really late last night and getting this sort of medical done or getting some of these paperworks done is that they can complete the medical early this morning and then we can get an announcement maybe in the afternoon, maybe in the evening. So today indeed could be Ugarte Day. Of course, we do get any announcement regarding it today. Of course, I will be here. We will be live. We'll be discussing it. We'll have the quotes. We'll have the reaction. We'll have all that fun stuff. As far as him being involved from the start this weekend, would be surprised because Eric doesn't really put people in from the start, but he has done in the past. Of course, Mazraoui was in from the start against Fulham. Anthony, on his Man United debut, of course, famously scored against Arsenal, and we thought, take me back to then. Take me back to Anthony scoring on his debut against Arsenal, and everyone going, this is going to work out. This is definitely going to work out, right? No, it didn't, did it? We were sold dreams that day. So I don't know if Manuel Ugarte will start. I lean towards no, but I mean, actually, let's have a look. Let's have a quick look at Ugarte. Because obviously he's not been involved in the any of the last two squads, has he? For PSG. So I just wonder if he was involved in any of the pre-season games or anything like that. I'm not sure if they'll have them up on the screen. Probably not. Someone could let me know in the chat if was he involved in any of the pre-season games for PSG. If that is the case, maybe he is up to speed, and maybe at home, a bit of steel in midfield. Maybe Ten Hag puts him in. Perhaps I lean towards probably no. In all honesty. But if they can, depending again on how quickly they can get everything done, with Ugarte, we saw Matthijs de Ligt and Mazraoui involved in, I think, was it 1 or 2 training sessions before Man United had even announced it, right? There were those pictures going around, weren't there, of, I think that's de Ligt and that's Mazraoui. They're in training right now, and they haven't even been announced yet. So there is the possibility that, I suppose, they could get it done really quickly. They could get involved in training as quickly as they possibly can and see where he's at. I mean, he was in the Copa America, wasn't he? Which would probably suggest if he was like a lot of the other players in the Copa America and he did get to the latter stages, semi-final, he probably had next to no pre-season in terms of playing games. But at the same time, we've seen Licha Martinez be involved. We've seen Alejandro Garnacho. He's been off the bench twice. But again, it's case by case, isn't it? It's case by case basis. But if you said, Owen, you're going to have to put your life savings on if Ugarte starts or doesn't start, I'd say, what kind of cruel bullshit is this? Why am I gambling everything I possibly own on a Man United player starting at the weekend? But I'd say, okay, I'd lean towards no. I don't think that is going to be the case. And but is in terms of being a ball winner, in terms of being a destroyer, those stats are they're impressive, aren't they? He had most tackles in Liga last season. Prior to that, most tackles in the Portuguese league. I think it was second most tackles or duels, whatever the stat is. Across Europe, the only one that had more was Palhinha, which everyone was raving about. Different leagues, different teams, I understand that. But seemingly, that's what Manchester United, that's what the football leadership team, that's what Erik ten Hag believe that Manchester United need. I kind of push away from this. While he's not going to solve all of Manchester United's issues, because no one player is. I think we need to get out of that mindset a little bit. I've spoken about it so many times about kind of, compartmentalizing feelings on certain things. One feeling doesn't necessarily mean something else. So I think you can celebrate this deal and be happy about this deal. I know I am happy about this deal, adding a bit of steel into midfield and winning the ball back, being maybe not technically proficient enough that Luis Enrique wants him in the midfield, because again, it's a different profile of player, but still technically proficient enough, I think, especially in comparison to some of our other midfielders. But it's not going to mean that, United win the league, or it's not going to be Man United now that they're sorted. Man United got a lot of problems. Man United still have a lot of problems, and it's going to take a lot of time to fix a lot of those problems. I think Ineos have had a very good window. We were talking about rating it yesterday. Probably give it like a 7.5 maybe. If they'd have got that really, really big outgoing, like a Casemiro or like a Harry Maguire or something like that, I think you'd bump it up. But I think given the circumstances, I think they've done very, very well. And it's not easy at Manchester United to sell players. They've been able to sell Scott McTominay. We got the Here We Go on that yesterday. They've been able to sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka. They've generated a lot of funds with sort of smaller exits, fringe players, trimming the fat. And I think they'll continue to do that. So I think, and in terms of the incomings, obviously, I think they've got value for money on pretty much every deal that they've done, in all honesty. They've stuck to their demands when it comes to asking prices and valuations and fees. They've backed away. They've negotiated, I think, very, very well, because I spoke about this yesterday on Flex and KG too. A couple of times this summer, we've walked away from certain deals and then gone, we're interested in this person, we're interested in that person. When the reality is we really weren't, but we were using it for leverage and we're using it for negotiating power. And it worked. I mean, how many times now do we have examples of Ineos? I don't even, someone put in a super chat said, this is so true. We should probably move away from describing them as Ineos, just the Man United football leadership team. How many times this summer have they gone for a player or a person, in the case of Dan Ashworth, been quoted a price that Manchester United don't like and gone, no, we're not going to do that. And if you think we are, we'll walk away, we'll take our time, we'll wait for the price to go down, or we'll go and get someone else. And because they know that other party does want to sell or can't afford to hang on for him forever, they get what they want eventually. And sometimes from a fan's perspective, you get a bit twitchy. And my goodness me, there's been twitchiness at certain points over the summer. Like with McTominay, just accept the money. Just accept it, 20 million. That's what we should just have. No, take your time, you get more. With Ugarte, just pay the money, just pay exactly what PSG want. No, wait. Where's Don Robbie when you need him? Where's Don Robbie when you need him?
No, wait a minute. Wait.
And just back off, and you can get price off. You get closer to the price point that you want, and they've been right to do it each time. I think there is no way that you can say that Erik ten Hag hasn't been backed this summer. Absolutely. And the pressure was on him anyway because of obviously last season and, obviously the season we had last season and the talk about injuries and what have you as to why we didn't play well, we didn't achieve that much. But now he's really got no real tangible excuse. I mean, you can talk about specific positions, but I think if before this transfer window, if you'd said, right, they'll bring in 5-6 players for you, we're not going to be able to fix every single position again. There is literally too much to do. But in terms of a one transfer window, we're going to bring in 5 or 6 players. We're going to get rid of some deadwood. Not all of it, because it's going to be impossible to do that. But we're going to start chipping away at it. It's not going to happen overnight. But we've extended your contract by a year. We've triggered that option to give you the public backing and the backing in front of the players. We've got the structure around you that's there to support you. We've got in a new coaching staff as well to kind of re-energize, reinvigorate things. We're bringing in new players too. It doesn't have a lot of excuses here. So it is going to be put up or shut up when it comes to Erik ten Hag this season, I think, and also for some of the other players that are kind of on the teetering. It's going to be put up or shut up. And again, that doesn't mean win the league, that doesn't mean anything like that, but that means get in the top 4, win another trophy. That's what you need to be doing this season. As far as style of play and attractive football, what it would ultimately come down to is what it's always come down to for a Manchester United manager, which is results. Yeah, when you look at any manager post Fergie, ultimately they ended up losing their jobs because results turn and go against them. Style of play, all that kind of stuff only starts to get really brought up when you're losing. When you're winning games and you're winning trophies or whatever, it's an afterthought, isn't it? Because you go, well, we're winning games. So he's going to have to get the results this season, no doubt about it. And I think even, your staunchest sort of Ten Hag backer, if you will, cannot argue that he hasn't been backed this summer. No doubt about it. So, I think that, but I do think, as I've said, I think after this, the sort of collective meltdown after the second game, for me, was a bit too much, because there's a long way to go of the season. There's still players to come in. There's still stuff to knit together. And I do think United are going to get Champions League football this season, which you may say, Owen, you're deluded, you're rubbish, whatever. But I still think that's going to happen this season. I do. Super chat here from, who's it from? From Joe Fleming, says, if we take Sterling for 10, so they take Sancho for 40. Well, we're going to talk about the Sterling-Sancho stuff again. I can't believe it's 2024 it's even a thing. But, we'll talk about that in just a bit. Right, so if that's the latest with Ugarte, as I mentioned. When it comes to all that kind of stuff today, again, if we do get an announcement, of course, we'll be here and we'll be chatting about it, and we'll bring you all of the quotes as well. So yes, that's the latest when it comes to Manuel Ugarte. Right, just a little bit on this Victor Lindelof stuff, because it is quite interesting coming out last night. This came from Gianluca Damasio, of course, based in Italy, saying Lazio are thinking of signing Victor Lindelof. Now, again, they're saying thinking. What does that actually mean? What is that? Is it real interest? Is it whatever? I don't know. I mean, look, Lindelof was one of those names, and this is in ways that the transfer window has been a bit odd, hasn't it? Is that when it came to the defenders, certainly, we thought, well, if we get in two centre backs, there's going to have to be outgoings in the sort of central defence, and minus Varane, there kind of hasn't been. And there was always this feeling of, it would be Lindelof or be Maguire. And then as the window goes on, with Lindelof having, I think it's a toe injury, they said it was, you go, I guess both of these aren't going to go. And now we've got quite a few. We've got quite a few centre-backs. What's really going on there? And I saw a piece from Manuel Ugarte yesterday saying that if Lindelof does stay, he'd be something like sixth choice. And he might even be used as cover for a fullback position if he does stay or something along those lines. I mean, again, he's another one, isn't he? That he's, I think he's got a year left on his contract. He was one of the ones, wasn't it, that we triggered the extension on. In terms of his wages, Lindelof's salary. Let's have a look. Go to my favorite website, Capology. £120,000 a week. As I mentioned, it expires, I think it's, in June, and I don't think there's a trigger option. I think we've already used that. So the potential is going to leave on a free. And so if United could get a transfer fee for him, of course, I think they would snap your arm off. What that would be at this stage of the window, this late in the window, I mean, let me know in the chat what you think that would actually be. For me, not a lot. Not a lot at all. But it would just be good to get him off the books. And again, I don't think we'd be going like, we're going to replace him with the time left. I think that would end up going into like possibly sort of a January budget, or possibly because even there was that stuff about fullbacks. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been on these shows going, we need a fullback, we need a fullback, we need a left back, we need a left back. It would appear, certainly from sort of United's point of view, that they're quite staunchly against getting what they're describing as like a stopgap left back or an emergency left back, which to me, I still feel like they are putting way too much stock in the ability of Luke Shaw and Terrell Malacia to remain fit. I'm actually quite staggered by that there is this sort of overwhelming confidence that they're going to be fine, or like, we don't need to get left back because Luke Shaw's going to be back after the international break. And I'll go, how do we feel that's actually going to be the case? And then the pushback to that is, well, we've got, like Mazraoui and Dalot, and they can play there. And you go, well, but they're meant to be competing for the right-back spot. And Mazraoui, I've been happy with his performances thus far, but at the same time, I don't want to overload him because he doesn't have the best fitness record anyway. So are we going to go for the rest of the season going until they get back? It's got to be Dalot and it's got to be Mazraoui for every game, pretty much. I know people will go, I'll get Harry Armas in. He's not going to come in yet. He's not ready right now. Especially in a time where it's like United need results, United to pick up some momentum. So I just still am stunned by that. And then if Lindelof stays and the reaction is, it's all right, we've got Lindelof at left back, I'll be like, oh my God, have you seen him play full back? I know back in the day he used to play there, but no. I mean, I think he played there a couple of times maybe last season. Or he's come on a couple of times last season, hasn't he? He's looked like a centre-back at full-back, like do a job, but not inconsistently. And I know that nowadays too, the whole thing in vogue, isn't it, of actually playing 4 centre-backs across the back 4. You see like City do it, don't they? But I don't think Lindelof falls into that category. And by the way, with that whole playing 4 centre-backs across the back line and playing centre-backs at full-back, I guess, Tony Pulis walked so Pep Guardiola could run. Because I remember, I think it was even actually against Man United. What season was it? Might have been the year we came second under Jose, I think. I think West Brom beat us, didn't they? And that's how City ended up winning the league. It was like a week after we beat City at the Etihad. And Tony Pulis used to have 4 centre-backs across the back 4, and they used to ridicule him for it. How dare you do that, you archaic dinosaur monster? And now, very creative. Very, very creative. He's smart. You're a genius. You're a step ahead. Tony Pulis, I've been doing it for years, mate. No problem. We used to play my centre-backs, full-back. Fine. Worked out very well. Interesting how football changes and evolves, isn't it? Because I remember that specifically because I remember after the game, they said to him, you got 4 centre-backs across the back 4. And he went, they're defenders. They were talking about. They're defenders. And you're right to. So, hey, football evolves. But I don't think that's how, I don't think that works for Victor Lindelof. So if Man United can get something for Lindelof, fantastic. He's not going to play that many games. You're not going to get anything for him in a year's time. He's going to be leaving on a free. So, yeah, Man United, if they can, they should see if they can get that done. Whether or not they will, we'll have to wait and see. But that's the end of the transfer window, isn't it? At the end of the transfer window, you get these things. Clubs start getting desperate. Prices coming down. They start thinking ahead, going, if we can get someone off the books, then we'll have a little bit extra in the budget. Maybe not for now, but maybe for later. And I've been saying this a lot recently, and I really do believe it. If Man United can participate actively in the January transfer market, that would be a massive difference for us. Because that January window, obviously it's not as big as the summer transfer window. Money doesn't get spent as much as the summer transfer window, PSR, FFP, like I get it. But if you do have that wiggle room and you can bring in that extra player or that player that's suddenly available or that player that's been playing well for the first half of the season that you didn't really consider, suddenly that can make a massive difference to your team. Even if it's just giving your squad just a little bit of a boost. Sometimes of just bringing that player in and go, right, they've sort of shook things up a little bit. You look at, say, like Trossard at Arsenal. He was a January signing, if I'm not mistaken, right? Obviously, Bruno Fernandes was a January signing. I mean, we can go on about January signings for Manchester United in the history. Some of our greatest players have been January signings, whether Bruno, Nemanja Vidic, Patrice Evra. So, yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know with that. So if United do have a little bit extra in the budget by that point, could be a massive difference for us come January. Who knows what position we'll actually be in with that. We've got over 1,600 people watching. So if you haven't already clicked the like button, we're already less than 100 to go to 500 likes, which is fantastic as well. So let's get the likes up. Be sure to subscribe. Get involved in the chat. I'm going to go to the chat in just a second. After this super chat from Ray says, don't think you get excuses from Ten Hag. If you listen to him, he always says wins and trophies is important. It's fans and media that come with excuses story. I don't mean like when I say it's no excuses for Erik Ten Hag, I'm not saying that, actively he'll be saying them. Last season, he went with the injuries one. I mean, you cannot argue that. He did say the injuries one last season. And whether or not it's valid, totally up to you. But he did say that last season. What I mean is, there will be no excuses if he doesn't get results this season. I don't even think the staunchest, again, Ten Hag defender or backer, if, say, Man United finished 6th this season, or even 5th, outside the top 4, no trophy, no Champions League football, and the injuries weren't as bad as they were last season, you can't say it's a lack of Ineos didn't support him, or Ineos didn't back him, or Ineos didn't bring the players in that he needed, or all that kind of stuff. It would be on him. It would be on him. It would also be on the players, obviously, but as the manager, it would be like, that's not good. And I've seen even, some of the biggest, like, you get those accounts on social media, those sort of big Ten Hag backing accounts. Even they've been saying the same thing, which is, he's got to deliver this season. It's got to deliver. Certainly better than last season. It has to. It absolutely has to. So, I hope that's the case. I do think, like I said, my prediction is Man United will make the top 4, which I know is difficult to think after a loss after your second game, but it's a long, long season. And even last season, when we were rubbish and we were shit, there were numerous periods of time where actually, if Man United had just put a couple of results together, we could have actually probably got top 4. Because, and I think it will happen the same this season. If you're fighting for 4th spot, last season you sort of top 3, they start to sort of pull away. It might be this season, might be top 2 or something like that. But that 4th spot, it gets to a stage every season where it's like nobody wants it. You get all of these teams start losing games, start drawing games, start throwing away points, and you go, I tell you what, if we win our game today, we're in a good position. And that happened last season, but then ultimately we just kept losing. We kept losing games or dropping points. I mean, once we started, losing to, because we had a run at the beginning of the year, didn't we? Where we hadn't lost a game for a while. Then we lost like Fulham at home, and then we started dropping points again. And then even when we thought, can we put some results together? You concede late against Brentford, concede late against Chelsea, and you just started dropping points. So my point being is, it is a long season. And there will be many ups and downs. It is not determined after the second game. I had someone on Twitter hit me up, say the table as it is now is largely what it's going to be at the end of the season, which I thought put a bet on it. That would be incredible, wouldn't it? I mean, some things you could say. I mean, City are top of the league? Fair enough, but there are lots of teams that start slow. There are teams that start fast. People put runs together. People get big injuries. Other stuff happens. Once Europe comes into it as well, that throws a lot of teams off because they've got to play an extra amount of games. It's just a lot. I mean, last season, first game of the season, what was it? Newcastle, they beat Aston Villa. Was it like 5-1 or 4-1? And then they qualified for the Champions League. It's a long season. It's not determined after a couple of games. And Manchester United are no different than that. Just because I think it's just enhanced by the fact of it was a really shitty season last season. So we feel like it's an extension of that, isn't it? Had we had, an average season last season, or we had got in the top 4, we wouldn't be freaking out after we lost the second game. But it's because we had a terrible season last season that we're like, here we go again, basically. Which I get. I do understand that. But again, I think that it's a long season. It's a long season, and it might even feel longer after the weekend. But we shall hope not. Wizard says playing Thursdays in top 4 is very difficult after coming 8th. Well, to be honest with you though, Wizard, the last time we did play on Thursdays, we finished 3rd, didn't we? We finished 3rd in the league, and that was after coming 6th the season prior, wasn't it? So not impossible. That's what I mean. I think we have to. we have to, again, it is only the second game. We have to, I think, just calm the expectations a little bit. We're 7 likes away from 500, so if you haven't already, click the like button and be sure to subscribe. Right, let's talk Raheem Sterling, shall we? Let's talk Raheem Sterling and what's going on with all of this. So Dan Ashworth, yes, he's particularly enthusiastic about this deal, according to the Times, about this potential swap deal involving Jadon Sancho and Raheem Sterling. Of course, there was the story yesterday saying that Chelsea United are discussing 2 separate deals for Jadon Sancho and Raheem Sterling. The possibility of Sancho signing for Chelsea and Sterling joining United is being now seriously considered. All types of deals, a loan with an obligation, or a permanent deal are being discussed between Manchester United and Chelsea for Jadon Sancho and Raheem Sterling. So, yesterday was very significant when it came to all of this, wasn't it? It was very significant because that story of Sancho to Chelsea, Sterling to United became legitimate, didn't it? Prior to that, it was kind of speculation. There was the German journalist, 10 days ago, something like that, going, Chelsea could come in for Jadon Sancho and they could offer a couple of players, actually. Turns out he was bang on the money because those 2 players they were offering were Raheem Sterling and Ben Chilwell. United have no interest in Ben Chilwell. The Sterling one, apparently their ears have pricked up a little bit. Now, we can't say that Juventus are ruled out by any stretch of the imagination at the moment because I think United would still prefer probably not to take the burden on of another player. They would prefer to get as much money as they possibly can. Seemingly, the reports are suggesting that the only reason United might be looking at this Sterling one is that they're like, oh, can we take advantage of the situation going on there and do something that we believe is financially prudent or financially makes sense? I don't know how many more times I have to say it. I said it yesterday on Flex and KG. I don't know how many times I've said it on these morning shows. I do not like this deal. I do not want this deal. And that is no disrespect to Raheem Sterling. That is no disrespect to Raheem Sterling, what he has achieved, what he has done in his career. Because I do agree with Flex with the sense that for some reason the sentiment to what Raheem Sterling has achieved in his career is way off, and I'm not really sure why that is the case. But you look at what he did do while he was at Manchester City, and when he has played for England, I think he's like the 3rd active highest goal scorer in the Premier League. So I will give him full credit for that. But in 2024, I think he's 30 in, is it December? Pep Guardiola, you want to talk about, we're signing rejects from certain clubs. Pep Guardiola decided 3 and a bit years ago, that Raheem Sterling wasn't it anymore for him. Started to freeze Sterling out, started to put him on the bench more often, and then decided we're going to get other people in. I don't want Raheem Sterling here anymore. I feel like I've got the best out of. I feel like we've got the best out of Raheem Sterling. That's it basically. And people at the time be like, is that true or is that right? Blah blah blah. But Pep knew when it came to that we weren't. That it was time for them to move on basically. Fast forward, at Chelsea for these 2 and a bit years. To be honest with you, with Chelsea, I know that whenever you bring up any player that hasn't played well, they go, yeah, but Chelsea haven't played well. I push back on that because even in this really up and down, chaotic, back and forth Chelsea side over the last 2 years that has been pure chaos, there have been players that played well. Now, granted, that whole team hasn't played very well. The whole club isn't functioning. But you do have your people like your Cole Palmers. You do have people like Gusto, who I'm a fan of at fullback. You do have, even last season, you start to see Caicedo playing better. Their players have played well in that team, or better. With Sterling, he just hasn't delivered. He has not delivered for them. For me, when I saw Raheem Sterling, I go back to it. When I see Sterling take that free kick against Leicester last season, I thought, oh my God. And you saw the sort of collective feeling in the stadium. It was almost like that summed up Sterling's time at Chelsea. Poof, and it was like, oh God. And this is a deal, a signing that Manchester United would have made under the old leadership structure, which is, look, and I even saw the sort of potential to try and sort of spin it yesterday with that stat of, wow, we'd be signing the sort of third highest active goal scorer in the Premier League. That's not too bad. Do you know who the second highest is? Jamie Vardy. Well, let's go sign him then, because he must be better if we're using that metric. Let's get Jamie Vardy in at Manchester United, right? So spare me that stat, because as we always say, those stats can be manipulated. Those stats can be twisted into any kind of narrative. Would he be an option in terms of the wide player? Yeah, of course he would. Of course he would. But I don't see much difference between him and on it. And those discussion points I'm having about Sterling going, he's not at his best. Can you get the best out of him? Oh well, a few seasons ago he would have done this. Maybe we can get back to that. I'm going, wait, is that Marcus Rashford? Is it Marcus Rashford's just a younger version then, isn't it really? Of going, yeah, on his day, but end product's a bit of a problem too. Finishing can be a bit of a problem too. Can kind of go missing. Is he going to be really sort of committed and track back? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? Now, when it comes to the finances involved in that too, I say to myself, well, there is no way in a million years Man United would even entertain the current contract that he's on, over £300,000 a week. Was it 325, 350, around that ballpark number? There's no way United would entertain that, and I think that they know that. So Sterling's got to figure that out with Chelsea, and Man United should have no business, absolutely no business, in trying to help Chelsea in that scenario. That's another part of it that makes me very, very concerned too. I do not want Manchester United to be part of the solution to bail out Chelsea for their own stupidity in terms of the transfer market. They signed Raheem Sterling. It was the first signing under Clearlake, wasn't it? And that's when they weren't on this current policy they're on right now. Bought an experienced player, a big name player, big contract, couple years in. Was it 5-year deal, 6-year deal? They've now decided they don't want to do that anymore. That's not United's problem to fix. It's not. And I know with the Jadon Sancho part of it, well, we've got a problem, Jadon Sancho, blah, blah, blah. But look at Juventus. Look at Juventus. And if it doesn't work out, integrate him back into the squad. I mean, it's even different with the Sterling thing. Raheem Sterling is not going to be in the Chelsea Premier League squad. They are desperate to get rid of him. Right, desperate to get rid of him. When it comes to Jadon Sancho, I know obviously he's been left out these first two squads, and you could say something's sort of bubbling up when it comes to all that. But even if he stayed, I could see him being reintegrated back in again and using him like he was in pre-season. In all honesty, he wouldn't be a starter; he'd be off the bench. But Erik ten Hag said so himself in these press conferences, hasn't he? Going, well, you need lots of players, and as the season comes on, we'll see. You never know what can happen. Blah blah blah. So I just don't like this deal. I just really don't like this deal. I think that, again, from Manchester United's point of view, I don't see how United can benefit from bringing in Raheem Sterling in. It's not like, again, he's awful, he's terrible, but I don't see how that helps us or improves us. And, you know, what would that mean? Would it mean that Marcus Rashford drops out of the team, Raheem Sterling goes on the left? I would be really worried about what it would mean also for the development of Alejandro Garnacho and Ahmed. Would it stifle at points their development? Because we've got to get these big name players in. Got to get those big name players into the team. Sorry, Garnacho. Sorry, Ahmed. Even though, because at the moment, if you asked a lot of United fans, what wingers would you like to start? You would go Garnacho, Ahmed, and you would say like Rashford, Antony, whoever on the bench. They can stay on the bench. The concern could be there could be a situation where you could have like, it's Rashford and Sterling, because of big names, and big, they've got to be involved. And actually, the more exciting players, the more sort of players that are playing consistently better at the moment, they're less involved. So, that would be my concern when it comes to that as well. Matt Hayward says, stupid comment, Owen. You worry about Sterling stalling Ahmad and Garnacho, but you don't worry about Rashford stalling them. But I think you're missing my point, Matt, here. I just said that if you ask Man United fans at the moment who they would want to have as the starting wingers, you would go Ahmad, you would go Garnacho. Now, you could say about Rashford and his poor form, does it stop them and all that kind of, does it hinder them? Fine. But then you've got two players that could potentially do that. How is... I'm going, you don't want two possibly things to stifle their growth. And you're going, why aren't you worried about one? Why aren't you worried about two? You're worried about both, right? That's the situation there as well. So, it's just... And it's not even a Rashford thing at the moment, really. It's a Raheem Sterling thing, the player coming in. Why worry about what? Don't worry about two, worry about one. That's what you should do. I mean, I don't like this deal. I don't know how many more times I have to say it. Now, the thing is as well, is that with yesterday, it did feel like more and more that this one might happen, didn't it? It felt more and more like, I tell you what, actually, this one could happen. Once I started to see that stuff yesterday with the whole Dan Ashworth, he's with it. And the biggest thing for me was when I started to see those, well, Manchester United are considering it, actually, this could be a really interesting proposition to bring in this third highest goal scorer. I thought, fuck, that now it's trying to... It's trying to start, and it just feels, you look at all of the profile of players that United have signed this summer, you know, whether it is Yoro, De Ligt, Mazraoui, Joshua Zirkzee, Ugarte, they've all been in this bracket, haven't they, of sort of young players, sort of mid-20s, and, you know, that's the area that we're going for. To just do that left turn and be like, right, 29 to 30, very established player, possibly big wages. I'm not going to say guaranteed big wages because we don't know that, but possibly big wages. It just feels like, someone said it on Sky this morning, and I do think it's kind of true. It feels like, again, it's a situation of both clubs sort of signing players that they don't really want. You know, that they don't really want, you know, to sign other players, but they're kind of just switching issues. We don't want him. There you go. You could both figure it out. So, yeah, I just don't think, again, for me, it's not the right option for Manchester United to do. It's not. If Man United do it, obviously, then I will support him and back him. I'm a Manchester United fan. But yeah, no. What else are people saying here? David says Raheem Sterling has won the league 5 times, to be fair. Which, again, that's what I was saying earlier. It's not to discredit that. But how many times has Casemiro won the Champions League? We're actively looking to sell him, right? Because how many times did with Rafael Varane? Look at all that he won at Manchester United. We were going, well, you know, you got to sell him as well. That was the mindset of the old football leadership team, wasn't it? That was the mindset of the old football leadership teams. Look what all these people have won. Bastian Schweinsteiger, look what he's won. Terrific of all these players that they've won. You know, it didn't work out for us. It just didn't. And Manchester United should be signing players because they think they are the best fit and there should be this long-term plan. Raheem Sterling, this is also the part of it for me, doesn't feel like that was part of the plan. You look at all of these other people Man United have signed this summer, feels like, again, it was part of the plan, part of the strategy. These are players they had earmarked. Maybe in the case of Lenny Yoro, again, it was an opportunistic move, but he's a young player, he's 18. Whereas this just feels like, it almost feels like a test, doesn't it? It feels like a test, doesn't it? It feels like a test for Manchester United, this new leadership team. This is what they would have done in the past. Are you going to do this? For me, I would be like, work with Juventus. Work with Juventus and get it done. And yeah, it's just I just don't think it's one that Manchester United need to do at all. It feels like a very old United deal that we would have done in the past, and I don't think it's the right one. And again, I must stress that is not an indictment on Raheem Sterling. That is not an indictment on he's rubbish, he's terrible, he's never won anything in his career. That's not. It's just I just don't think that's the profile United need to be doing. I just don't think that's the profile United need to be doing anymore. And we've done so well this summer coming away from that, haven't we? We've done so well moving away from that kind of signing for us just to kind of go back to it. And a lot of it would depend on the circumstances, wouldn't it? A lot of it would depend on the circumstances too. Imagine he came in, it was like Man United have signed Raheem Sterling. He's got like a 4-year deal or something like that. You'd be like, you know, if it was like a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal, you go, maybe. But even then, I'd be looking again. I'd be thinking about, okay, how much we've gotten for, how much we paying for him. Couldn't we keep that money? And even if we didn't get someone right now, couldn't we, utilize that in January? Go after a younger player, an emerging player. Couldn't we be again wiser with that instead of being like right now, end of the window, let's panic? Because again, that's what the old Manchester United would have done. And yeah, I mean, and as far as the Jadon Sancho stuff going to Chelsea, if that was to happen with him, I don't know what, I don't know what environment he'd be stepping into there. How would he be starting in that Chelsea team? I mean, who knows? Who knows what would be happening there? And yeah, I mean, and also, you look at his history of the teams he's played for. Played for Liverpool, played for City. I don't, in all honesty, I don't know because I don't mix in those circles. But would they be pissed off? To be honest, they'd probably be like, "Oh, look at United's signing a player we had ages ago." Typical United trying to get a player later on when he's not as good as once he was. I think that I don't like this deal. I think that United need to move towards a younger profile, move towards a younger winger, and if that's not in this window, then it can be in the next one. You can take your time with all that. That would be my thing with it. What else are people saying here in the chat? Let me double check if I've got any more super chats. One from Joe says, we need a favour with Sancho, but not worth 40. Raheel says, we should move away from such deals as we've done so far in this window. It makes no sense. Why not go for Semenyo or Adingra? Well, look, I think, like I said, I think that Ineos have done a really good job in this window. I think Ineos have done a really good job in this window of moving away from deals we would have done in the past. And this one just feels like that we would have done in the past. And I think United just need to move. And from that, I mean, Joe Blackman says in the chat, Ineos said they weren't happy with the Casemiro deal because of the wages and the length of the contract. They wouldn't make the same mistakes. Well, you would hope so. The question is, would Raheem Sterling be willing to come in to Manchester United on a shortish term contract and a significant pay cut? If that was the only option to him, maybe he would. I don't know. But yeah, and then you have to worry about the future, because I guarantee you, if we signed Sterling in like a year's time or 2 years' time, we'd be going like, need to move on some dead wood. Raheem Sterling, Casemiro, Marcus Rashford. Like, we would be doing it, wouldn't we? We would be doing that. So yeah, it's not the move for United to do. Whether or not they actively pursue it, I don't know. Sometimes end of transfer window sort of fever hits, doesn't it? It would be, just taking a step back in terms of the deal itself, it would be a remarkable transfer in terms of one that you just didn't see coming. I mean, obviously at the beginning of the window, if you had said, "Oh, Jadon Sancho will go to Chelsea," you would go, "It's not really impossible. I can see that." But Raheem Sterling coming the other way, you'd be like, what? Yeah, I would be surprised by that. I think, like I said, the Juventus one, that would be That would be the one, wouldn't it? The Juventus one, loan, obligation to buy. I know there's a lot of like pushback from Juventus about an obligation. They have just spent some money recently as well with Club Miners. So whether or not they actually have the finances to pull that one off, we shall see. United certainly want to sell. So unless, again, this is the only way that I can think of it, is because I did see this yesterday with some of the reporting saying that United would only do the deal for the Sterling one under certain conditions, under the right conditions, unless they feel like they can essentially, because they're saying there could be separate deals, unless they're thinking, we'll sell Jadon Sancho to, because it's, as much as it's described as a swap, from my understanding anyway, it's really not a swap. These are two separate deals. So unless Man United feel like Chelsea can give us a certain amount of money for Jadon Sancho, I don't know how much it would be. Let's say it's like 40 million if they've got that, or it's like 35 plus 5 or 30 plus 10 or something. If they can give us some money and we get Raheem Sterling for nothing and his wages are like cut in half and he's on like a 2-year deal or something, then we might do that for the sake of, well, we still got a player in, we got money and we saved a lot of money. That's the only thing I can think they would possibly look at that as. Well, we got a player through the door, he's not going to be with us forever. It didn't cost us that much money. We sold Jadon Sancho as well. That's what we did. I just don't know if I could see Chelsea going with that. On top of, they'd have to figure out what they're going to do with Raheem Sterling's contract anyway. But that's the only way I can see like United, you know what I mean, going for that. Is basically they come out of it going, I tell you what, we've absolutely done them there. Because we sold the player that we wanted to sell. We got a player in for next to nothing. That's what we did. Straight swap, no, absolutely not. A long-term contract, absolutely not, no. Current wages, absolutely not, no. So I can't. And then that scenario I've painted there, I just don't know if I could see that happening. You know, I just don't know if I could see that one happening. And look, when it comes to the transfer market, the one thing you could say about Todd Boehly and Chelsea is they know every loophole in the book. When it comes to, they're probably guiding United through the process. They're going, because they're like, oh wow, we're tight on FFP and PSR, and they'll go, you know, you can do this, and this. Can you? Can you do that? Oh wow, you know you can do that. I didn't know you could do that. Yeah. We could do this. I don't see us pulling the wool over Chelsea's eyes like that. You know, in all honesty. So I just cannot see a scenario in which those two deals make sense. Sancho to Chelsea, yes, but they're saying that it would have to be Sterling. Meanwhile, that Sterling deal going the other way. A bit like, you know, with them signing João Felix, because and then the Conor Gallagher thing had to go through, like a bit like that. You know what I mean? We've got to move some money around, basically. I just cannot see it. I cannot see that. But after that stuff yesterday, I thought, holy shit, this one might be a thing. And then, I don't know if he's sort of spoken about it more this morning or whatever. I don't know if you guys saw this as well. There was the tweet from Rio Ferdinand. He posted the GIF of the face he made when it came to, obviously, Ronaldo. When Ronaldo came back to United, when he had the sunglasses on and he was nodding, he was doing the smile. Could mean anything. But naturally, people saw that and thought, I did as well, saw that and thought, holy shit, like, has he heard something about Raheem Sterling? Is that actually happening now too? Now, I know Rio said a lot of stuff. I remember Rio standing on the train platform about a year ago or so going, I've just heard Qatar's happening, Sheikh Jassim, it's happening. And I was like, oh my God. And then didn't happen, obviously. But he was involved in the Lenny Oro deal even before doing that video with Lenny Oro. He was talking to him, trying to persuade him. So maybe he does know something. Maybe he does know something about this, you know, Raheem Sterling deal. I don't know. But I saw that last night like after those reports yesterday, I thought, I tell you what, this might actually be happening here, you know. This could actually be a real thing, which would be wild to say the least. Absolutely wild. So there you go. Of course, if we hear anything else about that, if we hear anything else about, obviously, Manuel Ugarte, his medical today, of course, we'll let you know. A reminder as well, it's Wednesdays. That means What the Devil is coming out 6 p.m. So be sure to join the guys from United District for that one too. And of course, as mentioned, anything else that comes, we'll of course let you know. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Where did we end up at? We've still got over 1,600 people watching. Less than 20 likes to go until 700. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Let's see if we can get to 700, 750 on the way out. And hopefully, I'll see you all later on. Hopefully, I'll see you all when it comes to us discussing a Manuel Ugarte announcement, a Manuel Ugarte statement from Manchester United. Hopefully, we'll be discussing all that indeed. So big up. Appreciate everyone that's tuned in. Appreciate everyone that's got involved. Appreciate everyone that's put in chats in the live chat, super chats, members chats, all that fun stuff. And hopefully, I'll be back later on. I'm out of here. Peace.